Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is a paid request for Devonte. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, movie reviews, re-reviews, then random thoughts, streams, commentaries, video game playthrough for an hour, a full playthrough, review, re-review, tier list, ranking, random, whatever the case, PayPal is the best way to do it. Do have a Cash App as well. Links are down below, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. For those who sent them, thank you. I do appreciate it. And this is for Mean Creek from 2004, which I know my friend Mike OCP, he actually reviewed this, and he was a big fan of the film. And it's a very dour drama that's about the choices that we make. Does the eye for an eye actually fit? Does the act fit the crime, or vice versa? And deals with bullies. Can you look at a bully and then maybe see a bit of sympathy that at the end of the day they may be a little shit, but they're still a kid at the end of the day? And for a good chunk of people, they can watch this film and feel a bit maybe unnerved, or feel a bit, food for thought, contemplative about the situation. And before I go on, the story of the film is Rory Culkin, who he was the kid in Signs. Of course, he's related to Macaulay Culkin. He is a kid who gets picked on at school by this bully, played by Josh Peck, of Drake and Josh. And the first scene is Josh Peck is playing basketball. He's missing all these shots. Rory Culkin touches his camera. Josh Peck freaks out and beats the hell out of him. One thing leads to another, and Rory Culkin's older brother, played by Trevor Morgan, which I remember him because he was the kid in Jurassic Park 3. The kid who went missing on the island, and eventually Sam Neill, more like the kid finds him and helps Sam Neill out, and you see that the kid's been holding himself in some kind of safety with supplies until help arrives. So Trevor Morgan says, we should get that guy back. We should get that bully back. So they come in with a plan that they're going to get together. It's going to be the two of them. These two guys who Trevor Morgan knows. You have this guy named Clyde, which he has a bit of stuff going on because his dad happens to be gay. And, there are people that look either down upon that, or it's hard for the kid to deal with because it's outside the norm for that community. And then you have this other guy, Marty, which you tell he's got some things to deal with. More so you find out because of the way his father died. Self-inflicted, so to speak, among other stuff. And those two and Trevor Morgan, they're much older kids. So there's going to be the three of them. Rory Culkin. Sorry, hard for me to say his name. This little girl. I think it was one more. I'm trying to think. It was at least those five. And they decide to bring Josh Peck with them. They make up a lie saying it's Rory Culkin's birthday. He's going to have a party. We're going to go and be on this boat on the lake. So while this trip is going on, you find out that Josh Peck is not this one-dimensional villain. There's more to him, where there are points that you sympathize with him because you realize he's got dyslexia. He doesn't say dyslexia, but the way he describes his symptoms, that's what it is. And about how he must have some kind of issues because there'll be times that he doesn't quite understand stuff, or he doesn't understand social cues. And even some of the kids, well, some of them don't even know. Like the little girl didn't even know that's what they were going to do. Rory, and then even his brothers start going, hey, you know what? Let's just not worry about it. Let's change our plans. Because they don't play truth and dare and humiliate him and get him to take his clothes off and dump him to the water and such. Eventually, they decide not to, even though there are times Josh Peck is still being a prick, and an asshole, and a little shit. Eventually, Josh Peck pushes too far. He gets one guy wet with the water gun. One guy he pushes by talking about the guy's dad, which is a very sensitive subject, which I don't blame. Because, I mean, if your parent died by suicide and someone says something like it's a joke, you beat the fuck out of him. You would punch him in the face. You do a whole lot of other things. So eventually the truth comes out. The Josh Peck starts being even more of a piece of shit. An accident happens. Josh Peck gets into the water. He can't swim. They try to get him out. He drowns. Now, it was an accident. But then Marty, he's like, no, we're going to hide the body. And they're like, no, we can't. Yes, we're doing it. Because do you want to get raped in jail? Do you want to do this and that? So eventually, with peer pressure, they go along with it. And then they leave. And then guilt kind of eats them up until eventually what happens, which seems just a bit anticlimactic. It just kind of, okay, that's what happens. And I don't think it has as much of the power as it thought it had when it happened. And I'll just say this. I wasn't big on the film. I don't think it's a terrible film. I don't think it's an awful film. It's just a film that at the end of the day, I just kind of went, I shrugged. I think because, number one, I had seen films like this. Bully from the 2000s. And River's Edge. River's Edge, I would say I liked more than this. That had Keanu Reeves. That had Crispin Glover. That one I thought it just had a bit more meat to the bones. While this, I get what they're doing. I can see how people would really enjoy it and would really be affected by it. I do think the acting is good. That's why I'm saying I don't think it's a bad film. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a bad film. It's not meant to be a fun film. It's not meant to be a film that's sunshine and rainbows. It's meant to be a dour experience. That's the point. So I get that. And it just felt familiar because of those other films I mentioned. And on top of that, like, the acting is good. I hate to say this, I did not feel bad when Josh Peck's character died. I know he wanted me to. Now, in real life, yes, it would be different in real life, because real life is real life. There's a difference between real life and movies. If I watch a movie and someone gets their head blown off, I'd be, all right, cool, that cool effect. If I watch in real life, it would be the absolute opposite, nauseating, worst thing I could ever see. Same with a movie. That yes, in the real world, I could find a bit of sympathy. And I know you can say that's not really fair to judge the film on it, because it's meant to be realistic. I get that. But it's just that prism in my brain that I still go, this Josh Peck character is such a fucking dick and a piece of shit that I didn't feel sympathy for him. There are times he tries to act nice, but then there'd be, like, when he goes up and goes, hey, remember in 3rd grade when I took a baseball bat and smacked you in the head? I'm like, what the fuck? You smacked a kid in the face with a baseball bat when you were in 3rd grade? That's psychotic behavior. That's fucking psycho. It's one thing like you did it once and you regret it and you want to. That's not the case here. Because then he goes, well, you must have done something wrong. No. And even Rory says, because he just thinks you must have done something wrong because how could I ever go and do that to you? And he's like, I'd never do anything wrong. And then Josh Peck is like, well, no one just goes up and does that without cause. And then Rory Culkin, you always do that. And then Josh Peck turns and says, why don't you just shut up? And I'm like, fuck this kid. I want to hit him in the face with a fucking baseball bat. And then the way he talks about the guy's dead, and I don't give a fuck what his issues, I don't give a fuck what his mental problems are, I don't give a fuck about what it is. I may not be the one and the instigator to his undoing, but if he does, I'm not going to feel a whole lot fucking bad about it. You called me an asshole, you called me a piece of shit person, and a horrible human being to think that way, but if you don't act this way, if you have mental issues, then I don't know what to tell you. I can't help you. But if you don't treat everyone's life like shit and horrible and terrible, then I don't really have a lot of sympathy for you. I don't. I don't like bullies. Whether you have mental problems or not, then you better get that shit settled, or your parent better get her fat ass out off the treadmill and do something about it. So I have little sympathy for Josh Peck's character. I know I'm alone in that, but maybe that's where my mindset is. So I didn't give a fuck about that fat fuck character. Josh Peck did a good job. I didn't give a shit about the character. Now, them hiding the body, it's one of those things that's very, very stupid to do. But of course, you have to do it because it's a movie. There's like a lot of these movies where the characters have to do something really stupid, and then the logic is that we don't always think under pressure. We don't always think when horrible things and anxiety and all this stuff is entering your brain, and about peer pressure. And what was that one with I think it was Bully. Why do you think there was another one though too? I'm not talking about the film Kids. There's another film I thought that was like Bully that I've seen as well. Maybe I'm just thinking of the film Bully. I think even that one felt even more uncompromising. And I'm not big on that director's work, Larry Clark. But that's definitely a film that goes a bit more towards the throat. The others are pretty much, we don't want to do this, and then they get kind of peer pressured into it, and then it felt like just kind of dragged, and you know where it's going, you're just waiting for it to happen. So I didn't really feel tension because I know where it was going. It felt like the first half was more interesting than the second half. And then when Josh Peck dies, it's kind of like, okay, and they don't feel guilty, and then they're going to want to tell. And maybe because there's not even like big... I don't want to say set pieces, that's not what this film's meant for. It's just, they feel guilty, they get together, they pretty simply say, we're going to go tell. The one guy, Marty, says, how could you do that? And he decides to go on the run. He says a few words to Trevor Morgan, very kind of soft key. He goes to, I think, his older brother? Anyway, gets a gun, robs a store, goes off. And I think on his way to the border. You never know if he got to the border or not. I guess you just assume he did. The kids go up to the mom. They tell her, but we don't see them tell her. That cuts and it goes off screen. Then Rory Culkin is talked to by cops. They're led to the body. The mom is crying. And it goes from there. I'm like, I'm sorry, Mom, I'm sorry that the mother you raised a fat fuck piece of shit who didn't know what the fuck he was doing because you're too busy on your fucking treadmill, thigh master, butt master to tell what the fuck's going on. Maybe get off the fucking treadmill. Not that it's working because you're still a fat ass. I mean, that's not. I know that's not fair to the lady. It's an actress. I mean, it's not her fault. I'm talking about the character. I'm talking about the character. I mean about the character. Granted, it is her appearance, but if it's a character I don't like, then I make fun of them as that character. I know that may seem like a crappy defense, but that's just how my brain works, as short-circuited as it is. But really, the most interesting part to me about this whole film is the director is Jacob Estes. He did Don't Let Go, which I'm like, is that the same movie? And it is. It's a film that came out a couple years ago. That's kind of like the black version of Frequency. You ever seen that with Dennis Quaid and Jim Caviezel, where because of something they're able to talk to someone in the past? Well, this was about a guy who's a cop whose like niece and other family got killed. Then he gets a call, and it's her. And it's like a week or so before, and it's like, your mom's gonna die, your dad's gonna die, you're gonna die. We gotta figure out what's gonna happen so that you don't die there. So he's in the future and she's in the past. I liked it for what it was, but I know my friend Michael Keane hated the movie. He despised it. I'm like, I don't think it's that bad. Frequency is much better, but I don't think it was that bad. I liked it for what it is. I do like the film, but anyway, I'm like, that's the same guy. I never would have put two and two together. Because they're two completely different tones. Completely different tones. This was much more done in like a fly on the wall, independent movie. You know, the camera kind of will move a bit. And you just like you're part of the group. I do think the acting was good. I think some of the dialogue where Marty talks to Trevor Morgan's character and is like, because Trevor Morgan's changes his mind. And Marty's like, oh, that's funny, huh? You got me here on a Saturday and I could be home watching TV and... Listen, you're either hard as hell and yanking my chain, or you're the limpest dick I've ever met. And he does a good job. That guy. I actually wanted to get that guy's name. Because I think he did a rather good job as playing this guy that, like you tell, has issues. Probably because he saw his fucking dad die right in front of him like that. Scott Meklowicz, who was in Eurotrip, Undocumented, some film called Cat Run that somehow got a sequel. I've never even heard of the film. A film called Demonic with Frank Grillo. He's not even one of the stars in it. Oh, he was in Peaceful Warrior, a 2006 film directed by Victor Salva. There you go. But yeah, Jacob Aaron Estes. I'm like, wow, that's the same director. See, it was one of those movies I kind of watch and go, You know, it's not bad. It's not a bad film. If it's a subject, a plot, a tone that you're looking for, have at it. It's just not for me. It's not usually the type of films I gravitate towards anyway. Again, I don't really have sympathy for the Josh Peck character. I know you're supposed to, a lot of people would, so I didn't give a fuck that he died. The For me, like, it was an accident. The issue, like, for me was, covering up the body, and that was the stupid thing. And I don't know, it's just one of those things where, for me, be, it just felt like very like I'd seen the film before, and I'd rather just go rewatch River's Edge. I did review River's Edge. You feel free to look at my thoughts on that. I thought that film did this subject a bit better. With the cat, I mean, the cat does a good job, but just the way that film is made, uh, characters like the Dennis Hopper character, the way you really see how the other kids are. Some of them are just so emotionless, and how these kids kind of don't really believe in anything, and it just felt, for me, there was just more for me to hook onto and sift through and really find the hidden meaning to. Here, part of me is like, I didn't give a shit. I hate to say it, so yeah, take that for what you will. And to be honest, when I got to the third, I was kind of just bored. I was just kind of bored and went, okay, just waiting for them to, yep, okay, here you go. And it just felt like I said, uneventful and anticlimactic, the whole finale was. Where you think, okay, there's going to be some tension between Marty and these characters, and, how you don't turn me in, and maybe I'm going to do something to you, or I'm going to put the blame on you, or they start fighting each other, or do you see how each other eat each other up alive, or how this bully infection spreads to everybody, and how it sours the whole pool, and I don't know. And then, again, you don't even know what happens to really any of the characters. You don't know what their punishment is. You don't know what's going to happen to the characters. I think if you really showcase, like, this is what they're going through, the trial. That's one thing I think Bully did effective, that you saw the end of the film, and you see, like, the sentencing they got, and that really hammers home the punishment they got for doing this, and this is what they did. And like I said, I don't remember being a big Bully fan, but I do think that hit this subject matter with more of the force that this film was going for. But I think Bully did a much more of that, like, really knocking you for a loop. Which seems like, at least it went for it. This one, I thought it didn't quite get to the finish line. For me, at least. Just for me. But again, I do not think it's a bad film in taste of the way it's filmed, the way it's acted. It is a short 90-minute movie, so it's not like overblown 2.5 hours or anything. So take that for you will. Thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.